Back to Morning Joe. Jonathan Lemire, jumping off the conversation we just had, the allegations by Tara Reade, it doesn't seem to have impacted the campaign, the polling. Am I missing anything?
It hasn't yet. Mika, you've been rightly praised for that interview, and it gave the former vice president a chance to address some of these questions. Now, some of this is still going on. There's still a debate of some Senate records and whether they can be released. There's going to be calls to the University of Delaware to look at its archives. There's certainly a movement among some in the right, some in the conservative media to drive this. A lot of the president's surrogates and supporters are still asking for this. They're drawing comparisons to the Justice Kavanaugh hearings. They clearly want to make this an issue. But one thing that's missing, at least so far, is the president himself. He hasn't really added any fuel to the fire on this one. He's been deferential to the vice president, says he should be taken at his word. And, of course, that's because he himself has been accused of so many sexual allegations of sexual assault and so on, that it seems to be a topic, at least for now, with which he's uncomfortable, Mika.
So joining us now, two-time Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist and the news executive editor for the New Yorker website, David Rode. He's an NBC News and MSNBC contributor and author of the new book entitled In Deep, the FBI, the CIA, and the Truth about America's Deep State. And David, if you could talk a little bit about this whole situation with Michael Flynn, where even the vice president is completely backtracking on his words against the former national security advisor, now saying he is a patriot, and he welcomes him back into the White House. Do you believe there was an ulterior motive here, perhaps not to have Trump pardon him during the election season?
I do think that's what happened. I think Bill Barr is doing the president's political bidding, and this is part of a broader narrative of a corrupt Obama administration. I think, in fact, there's less transparency in the Trump administration, and President Trump is claiming he's a victim of a deep state. My book investigates this. I did not find any evidence of a deep state. So I think in the guise of stopping a coup that does not exist, President Trump is creating his own deep state. We don't know why Bill Barr is making these decisions. Bill Barr is blocking access to the president's tax returns. Rudy Giuliani is carrying out a private foreign policy for the president. So it's a strange time, but this is all highly unusual, and no attorney general has acted this way since Watergate.
Jonathan Lemire, one of the problems with this White House is one could never have imagined a lot of what has taken place to take place. Is there, you just wonder, what's the oversight arm for a situation like this?
No, we are in a new world right now, Mika, and certainly in terms of Michael Flynn, there's been speculation about him rejoining the administration, perhaps, and certainly that he could become a campaign star, whether virtual or otherwise. That he's a real cause célèbre on the right. David, I wanted to ask you though: this is reflective, it seems, of some more changes, perhaps, among the nation's top law enforcement, federal law enforcement, and intelligence. We have the new DNI Ratcliffe now in the game, and we heard the president on Friday in his Fox and Friends nearly hour-long interview ruminating about Christopher Wray, the FBI director. And he was asked, he certainly intimated that he was unhappy with Wray. He didn't guarantee that his job was safe. We've reported there have been flashes in the past where the president has been very unhappy with Wray, holding him responsible for some of the so-called deep state actions against him. What are you hearing? How secure is Chris Wray in that post right now?
I spoke to an official close to Wray, and they're hoping he would not be removed until after the election in November, but he's clearly in trouble. And the bottom line here is that this campaign of taking political control of the Justice Department is working. Taking control of the intelligence community and using it for political purposes is working. John Ratcliffe will likely be confirmed by Republicans on the Senate Intelligence Committee. And then you remove Wray from the FBI. So, again, this is extraordinary. You'll have the intelligence community saying the virus did come from a lab in Wuhan, China. So we've never seen this before. They're not perfect, but the Justice Department and the FBI and the CIA have tried to be largely apolitical, again, since the 70s and since Nixon's abuses. President Trump is succeeding in changing that.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, for this situation, David, former President Obama spoke out, which, you know, it's unusual. Let's just say that. but people seem to be so disturbed about what has happened. And I guess I'll ask the same question to you. Where is the ability to carry out oversight over a situation like this?
Theoretically, it lies in Congress. You've seen that from the House. But the president, Trump followed. Look, he knows what he's doing. He's got a long playbook here that works successfully, where he discredits rivals by accusing them of conspiracies. That would be the FBI or the press, witch hunts, fake news, or a deep state. I found that deep state it's simply political rhetoric. FBI officials I talked to stand by their investigation of Michael Flynn. He had attended a dinner with Vladimir Putin. He'd been paid for that dinner. The president had publicly called for Russia to find Hillary Clinton's emails. So it was a legitimate investigation. And then, of course, Flynn, as national security advisor, lied to the vice president. All this is very troubling, but it's all for November. It's about, voters, the corruption, the deep state is Obama. The secrecy is Obama. It's not me. And I found the opposite. I found less and less transparency from this administration and more evidence that intelligence officials, someday maybe the FBI, and then right now the Justice Department are protecting the president's friends.
David Rohde, thank you very much for joining us this morning. And Jonathan Lemire, thank you as well. And that does it for us this morning. Stephanie Rule picks up the coverage right now.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.